Wow, thank you. I have spoke on some really big stages, and I think I'm more nervous today than I have been for some of those huge keynotes. This is such an honor. Sorry. It is such an honor to accept the Annie Oakley Society Trailblazer Award. To be mentioned in the same sentence as a woman like Annie Oakley, who, she was gritty to no end. She refused to back down, and she single-handedly rewrote what it means to be cowgirl. And it's just humbling beyond words to have a statue that bears her name. You know, Annie was a performer. She was a teacher. She was a fierce advocate for women. And she wasn't just a sharpshooter, though. As I read about her, Annie Oakley was a storyteller. And in her own somewhat quiet, sometimes, and unshakable way, she helped the world see that women could be powerful, they could be graceful, and they could be good at the hard things all at once. As Annie Oakley once said, a woman's place is wherever she chooses to stand. And I think that's such a powerful truth. I don't see this as an award for me. The more I thought about it, I see it as a celebration of every woman who's ever dared to stand in her own space with courage, resilience, and grit. And that's really the same truth that's at the heart of my movement, Fancy Lady Cowgirl. This was so silly. It was an idea that was born accidentally out of this tug of war that was inside me for so many years. Because in the fancy world of television, they said, you can't wear a cowboy hat. No one will ever take you seriously. But I was a cowgirl, and I was raised on a ranch. And for a very long time, I was told, you have to pick one. Those two worlds do not go together. They told me in television no one would ever take me seriously in mainstream television in a cowboy hat. But here's the thing, in the Western world, I was told that because I no longer lived on a ranch and my clothes were just a little too fancy, that I probably didn't qualify as a real cowgirl. And here's the thing, it took me a decade. It took me a decade to stop listening to everyone else and, like Annie said, finally just stand in my own space in my clothes that were a little too fancy in my own way. Because you know what? I wanted to be both, a fancy lady and a cowgirl. And I had no idea then that by just choosing to ignore the stereotypes and sort of break my own mold and have the courage to just be me, that I would inspire thousands of women around the world. I never saw it coming because my goal was simply to stand in my own power. But bringing other women along for the ride and encouraging them to embrace their inner cowgirl in whatever way makes sense to them has become the greatest privilege of my life. Here's the thing, the cowgirl spirit lives in all of us. It lives in the women who are raising families, the women who are running companies, the women who are holding communities together. It lives in the young little girls who haven't yet been told that they can't. It lives in every woman who has failed and gotten back up. It lives in every woman who has dared to look a little different, act a little different, and just be a little different. It lives in the brave choices that we make every day and in those quiet moments that no one ever sees, ladies. Being a cowgirl isn't about where you live. It's not about what you ride. It's about how you show up in the world. Cowgirl is a state of mind. You know, Annie Oakley once said, I ain't afraid to love a man, but I ain't afraid to shoot him either. And she was funny. But when I read that, I think to myself, you know, she's making a point, right? Women have always been complex, they've always been capable, and they've always been hellaciously courageous. We don't need permission to be all of it. So this afternoon, I accept this award in honor of Annie, and in honor of every woman who continues to blaze trails in boots, in heels, and everything in between. May we all just keep standing wherever we choose, keep showing up fully as ourselves, and keep proving that the cowgirl spirit isn't something of the past. It is alive in every woman who dares to live a little bit legendary. Thank you so much.